So you think you know what a career in medical radiation is all about? Well, I can tell you it's a whole lot more than just getting your degree. Today, we're going to map out the entire professional journey, right from that very first step of getting licensed to the absolute peak of the profession.
If you've ever been curious about this incredible, super important field in healthcare, then stick around. Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's just forget the idea that it's only about taking x-rays. This is a highly structured career path with really clear stages of growth, of responsibility, and, my favorite part, specialization. So let's break down what that path actually looks like. First things first, let's get the lay of the land. In a place like Australia, the whole profession is pretty much split into three main buckets. You've got diagnostic radiography, that's all about creating images to figure out what's wrong. Then there's radiation therapy, which is focused on treating diseases like cancer using radiation. And finally, nuclear medicine technology, which is super cool. It uses radioactive tracers to literally see how the body is working on the inside. So keep these three in your back pocket because they become really important later on.
But here's the thing. It doesn't matter which one of those paths you dream of taking. The journey for every single person begins at the exact same gate: getting officially licensed.
Graduating with that degree in hand, well, that's not the finish line. It's really just the starting gun. To legally work in Australia, you have to be registered with the National Board. That's the Medical Radiation Practice Board of Australia, or the MRPBA for short. This is what makes sure that everybody meets a national standard for safety and for skill. It's a huge deal.
And for brand new graduates, there are basically two main doors to walk through. First, there's provisional registration. This is for grads who need a year of supervised practice to round out their training. Then, you've got general registration, which is for those whose degree program already covered that, so they don't need the extra supervision. The key thing to remember is just that difference, whether or not you need that initial oversight as you start out.
Okay, so you're in. You're registered. Now what? Well, the journey kind of shifts from what's on paper to what you can actually do. This is all about mastering the core skills that define a competent, safe practitioner.
The MRPBA has a key concept for this, and it's called threshold professional capability. Honestly, the best way to think about it is as the official benchmark, the absolute minimum level of skill you have to do your job safely and do it well for every single patient, every single time.
And listen, this isn't some test you pass once and then forget about. No way. It's a professional standard you have to live up to every single day you're on the job. It is the absolute bedrock of patient safety and quality care.
So how do you measure something like that? Well, it's broken down into these 5 core areas, or domains. They cover everything you can think of, from your hands-on clinical skills as a medical radiation practitioner to your ethics as a professional. They expect you to be a great communicator and collaborator, to be an evidence-informed practitioner who's up to date, and of course, to be a top-notch radiation safety and risk manager. Mastering these isn't just a box to tick, it's the foundation that lets you even think about climbing that career ladder.
All right, so you're registered, you're working on those core capabilities. What's next? To really paint a picture of what progression looks like, we're going to borrow a fantastic framework from the UK Society and College of Radiographers, just because it lays out the career ladder so clearly.
And this framework presents the career not as just some flat, static job, but as a ladder you can actually climb. Every single rung represents a new level of skill, a new level of independence, and more responsibility. It gives you a really clear path for your own ambition.
Down at the very first rung, we find the assistant practitioner. Now, this role is all about handling specific, routine tasks under supervision. The whole point is to provide that crucial support to the team, which frees up the fully registered radiographers to focus on the more complex clinical stuff. Now, just to show you how wide this career path can be, let's jump way up to one of the highest rungs on the ladder, the service manager. At this level, the focus totally shifts from hands-on patient care to big-picture leadership. You're talking about running the whole service, budgets, staff, strategic planning. It takes years of experience, a degree, and usually some serious management training. It just shows you how far you can really go.
So, we've seen the starting line and one possible peak, but what about the journey in between? Let's fill in those crucial middle rungs and look at the core professional ascent that most people will take.
After you're fully registered and past any supervised period, you become the radiographer. This is that foundational role where you're working independently, you're accountable for a huge range of complex tasks, and you're directing others on the team. This is where you truly own your practice.
The next step up from there is often the advanced practitioner.
And this is where that deep specialization really starts to shine. You become the go-to expert in a specific area, maybe diagnostic MRI, maybe a certain type of radiation therapy, and you actually start to define the best practices for other people in your field.
And at the very top of the clinical ladder, you have the consultant radiographer. This role goes way beyond the day-to-day. The focus here is strategic. You're providing expert leadership, you're driving new research and innovation, and you're educating the next generation. You're literally pushing the entire profession forward.
So, from assistant to consultant, from practitioner to manager, you can see this whole journey is just one of constant growth. And that brings us to the final, and you know what, maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle.
This quote from the College of Radiographers just nails it. Continuing professional development, or CPD, it's not just some boring paperwork you do to renew your license. It's the engine of your career. It's about being committed to learning for life, to thinking about your work, and to always pushing yourself to be better. CPD is how you climb that ladder.
So there it is. We've laid out the map for you, from getting registered and mastering your skills, all the way up a career ladder that is just brimming with opportunity. The path is clear. The only question left is, where are you going to take your journey?